Move swiftly on to our first speaker, who is Rob Hall. Rob's going to tell us a bit about why we're doing the pamphlet and industrial unionism studies. Now, Rob's the co-founder of Striker. He's a secondary school teacher, don't know how you do that, an NEU rep and assistant district secretary in Bolton, and the editor of the Education for Tomorrow journal. So you're very welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. It's an exciting project, something that me and Henry have wanted to do for a long time, is to take Strike Map from the screen and into the real world. And this is, along with some of our other projects that are going on now and some of the other things that we've done, this is a really exciting step to start on a journey, for people with political education, with organising, and trying to get, like I say, from that clicktivism actually on the streets organising and into our trade unions and trying to think about what the future is for trade unions. So we start thinking about, why now? Why do we need this? So I'll give you a number, 250,000. 250,000, 250,000 people. That's the population of Salford, roughly. Does anyone know what that number is that I'm talking about? Henry does. It's the number of people who left trade unions last year. The number of people, trade unions in Britain declined by last year. 250,000 people. Density in the public sector. I feel like a teacher now. Please put my hand up and answer it. Density in the public sector, where our strongest place. It's now less than 50%. And in the private sector, trade union density,
10.
About 12%, yeah, according to the TUC. So this is coming at a time when, comrades, we are under attack, and that's undeniable. Our numbers are falling at a time when we're under attack. Cost of living crisis is plunging millions of people into financial crisis. And the government, of course, has decided to side with capital over labour. And to the shame, it seems like the opposition party have also done the same. But, comrades, let me reassure you that any attempts to suppress trade union activity through these repressive legislation will face fierce opposition from workers, and Strike Map will be there every step along the way to support workers in their struggle. The recent waves of strikes that have swept across the country, critical industries, has laid bare the gross failures of austerity capitalism. Nurses, doctors, teachers, civil servants braved the attacks upon them, withheld their labour to demand dignity in their job, security, a living wage. That phrase, a cost of living crisis, if you actually sit down and think about it, a cost of living, the cost of being alive, it's a crisis. I think sometimes we hear these words and we forget the actual, the meaning of them. So, thinking of our successes, the public is with us. I don't remember a time when we've had such broad support from the public for industrial action. The last time when I went on strike as a teacher, before this strike wave was 2011, so other teachers may remember that, which was over pensions, and the papers were filled with attacks on teachers. We were called the Blob by Michael Gove. And, generally speaking, there wasn't as much support, but this time we've seen picket lines filled with supporters, and that's been really heartening to see. But all the while, the government concerns itself with trying to crush dissent, paving the way for further privatisation, further cuts. So in sectors gripped by action, we've seen real wages collapse over the past decade. The value of teachers' pay has fallen by a staggering 23% for teachers, 27% for support staff. Since 2010. But you'd think at this point, with such support for strike action, that the government might be thinking maybe this is time for some sort of reconciliation but the Prime Minister instead prioritises tax cuts for the rich. We get hollow statements from the government about hard choices, tough decisions, so it's all just to justify the sacrifice of ordinary people at the altar of profit. And every plea for progress from us all we have in return is a tax on us, more anti-union legislation, and the latest minimum service level laws are going to basically see it illegal to go on strike. And this is something that we need to really fight back against. This isn't obviously, the temptation is to focus on the most recent anti-trade union laws, and then we forget about all of the ones that have come previous to this. So previous to the minimum service level laws, we already had the harshest, most restrictive anti-trade union laws in Western Europe. And this latest trend of legislation is nothing but a despotic endeavour to render trade unions powerless. More than that, it's an attack on our basic rights, our basic liberties that our forebears in the trade unions, in the workers' movements here in Manchester and elsewhere around the country fought and often died for. So this pamphlet that we've released today, in JT Murphy's pamphlet, and I'm proud to return with Henry the introduction for, he concludes by saying that the Prime Minister in 1911 stated that His Majesty's government will place the whole civil and military forces of the Crown at the disposal of the railway companies, who they're in dispute with at the time. And then he went on to say that so will say the Premier of England tomorrow. And it seems that this is still the case today. We're in a battle against capital, we're in a battle against our own government, who will bring all their forces to bear. So what does that mean for us? So as these attacks intensify, so must our resistance. Workers now face a choice between acquiescing to this creeping tyranny or defending their collective interest with renewed conviction. We can't rely on the courts. There's a temptation, isn't there? This will go to the High Court, it'll get repealed. We can't rely on an incoming Labour government to protect us. Solidarity and direct action offer the only constructive path ahead. And as the saying goes, united we stand, divided we beg. So, as this pamphlet implores us, the one mighty hope, the only hope, lies in the direction indicated in a virile, thinking, courageous working class, organised as a class to fight and win. And the truth is, they're attacking us because we're making some victories. We've embarrassed the government. We've shown them that we can take what they throw at them, and we can throw it right back at them. We can beat their arbitrary strike thresholds, the arduous balloting procedures. And so the government, so ideologically blinkered, that far from seeking to resolve these contradictions, instead are implementing measures that are only going to inflame it. So when we set up StrikeMac 3 years ago to this month, in our first year, I always sort of laugh about this. We had a big, after our first year, we had a big video. I think it was that one Grace did the, they always, it's really, high production value, and we're like, we've mapped 100 strikes, 100 picket lines have happened in Britain this year. I can never remember the exact number, but now we're up to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of workers on strike. So, what does this pamphlet mean to us today? So, as workers, we are winning. But it doesn't always feel that way, because sometimes it feels like we have officials who are pushing bad deals on us. And unfortunately, our unions have gone into, in a lot of cases, a servicing model of trade unionism, which has corroded our class allegiances and dulled the edge of solidarity. So what Murphy has set out here is a vision for a renewal. Not everything in it we're going to agree with. It's from 1917, not everything applies, but progress demands an organising from the bottom up, rank and file movements reclaiming the true purpose of unions. Within a school like my own, we've got NEU members, NASUT members, NAHT members, ASCL members, Unite members, GMB members, and the list goes on. In a typical NHS setting, there's 14 unions recognised. We're in battle against each other half the time. I've got the Unison rep telling me I'm pinching their support staff members. I've got the GMB rep trying to get the Unison members. I've got NASWT members trying to leave to join our union, etc. But this shouldn't be the case. So what Murphy sets out is an idea that we should be working together. I'll try and sum up, Sarah, sorry. So, the goal for us is unity. The goal for us is to look to our bureaucracy, our union leadership, to help us facilitate a renewal of trade unions from the bottom up. That doesn't mean there isn't a place for officers within a union. I know that many of you here might be officers in unions, but it is about giving the courage to lay members to be able to take that fight forward. We can't allow any conditions that we win by immense sacrifice to be solely surrendered. So, what we need is a struggle for unity. So I'll end with a famous quote: "Workers of the world unite, but nothing to lose but your chains." Thank you.